Patter of the Mainly Broncos podcast, and the Denver Broncos are once again streaking, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fun time to be a Denver Broncos fan, and it is a fun time to get a chance to see the Denver Broncos vying for playoff position once again. And every time their backs up have been backed up against the wall, they delivered every single time. Thank you guys so much for hopping in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to the MHRT Network page. And I want to let people know that the MHRT Network, or I should say the YouTube channel, is now doing a join this channel. So we're doing memberships. And if you click it, when you go to the channel on YouTube for MHRT Network, there's a subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button, like I said. But right next to that is a join button. It'll list 3 different options for you. $2.99 a month for the fan subscription. And that gets you priority, replying to the comments, members only live chats. And then the super fan. That actually will allow you to connect on social media, member shout outs, and then the diehard. I don't necessarily know what the extent of join the show means, but you could do members only live streams. So like just members only live streams for the $12.99 diehard. So make sure you hit the subscribe button over there. And if you have already subscribed, thank you. Thank you to those people who have hit that subscribe button. And as always, make sure you click the follow button for both Brandon and I. Hit the follow button for Brandon at Brandon Miller PO and myself at Cameron Parker PO. And with that long-winded intro, Brandon, how are you? Did you calm down from that Sunday night football masterpiece, actually? I mean, from a game standpoint, that was as good of a game, frankly, that you could have ever asked for on primetime.
Dude, at the end of that, though, man, I was just ready to go to bed. Like, as soon as it was over, I was like, I'm out, and passed out, and then kind of woke up and had to, like, reminisce on how crazy of a game that was. Before we dive into that, because I'm sure, like, we won't have any shortage of things to talk about, I just would like to point out that Jamal Murray just dropped 52 points against the, I think, Pacers tonight. So Jamal Murray is just absolutely unconscious this season. He's been ridiculous. But anyway, no, that game was not what I expected going into that matchup in the good and the bad ways. That game did not need to go to overtime, but it did. And we got out of there with a victory. So that's a W. But man, that was stressful going into the end of that for the past, like, pretty much the end of the fourth quarter going into overtime. It was just like, come on, like let's just get this over with.
Let's just end it.
We gotta figure out some way to have this game end because this is just ridiculous. Like, I think what was it? The defense was on the field for like 18 plays straight or something.
Yeah. That has to have been like one of the longest drives that I can recall. Like when it comes to the Broncos and stuff that they've had before. Because I know that they've had like long drives, like the Kansas City drive. Like, remember when the Broncos played the Chiefs that one year? The Broncos played the Chiefs that one year, and there was a really, really long drive, where it was like a 15-minute drive, and it was like almost the entire quarter, and they got 3 points off of that. That's what it felt like. It was taking like an eternity for that drive to end.
It almost felt worse than that because it was so weird that on the one hand the defense couldn't get off the field, and on the other hand they also couldn't stop anything. So I really wasn't understanding how, like obviously one feeds into the other. They can't get a stop, they can't get off the field, but like to the point where you would expect that there would be a score so that they would be able that they would give up a score so they could get on the bench and get some
like almost like breather. Like almost in air quotes, like throw in the towel and just be like, please just score. Just
right, literally. But like they were bad enough that they couldn't get stops, but they were also good enough that they somehow
made the winning
dragged it out and they didn't allow a score. And so they kind of just like shot themselves in the foot a little bit, but then like also shot the Commanders in the foot. I don't know. I don't know the best way to kind of describe the best euphemism to use to describe that, but it was crazy.
I will just say this, and I mentioned this on 5280 yesterday, but like there's really only, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Brandon, but there really is only a couple games, and just a couple games, where you really felt like the Broncos really just had a bad game, like a bad game overall, sloppy game, just cruddy everywhere, like crud everywhere type of game. And for me, that was the Jets game. And ironically enough, we played the Raiders on Sunday, and ended up being that Raiders game on Thursday night.
The Texans game was close.
Well, the reason why I'm at least giving some of grace on that is because it was the Texans. It was the Texans defense. But what I think is, for the most part, when you look at every single game that the Broncos have played, the opposing teams have played really well, or up to a better standard that I think that maybe even the Broncos aren't really expecting at times, like to raise the level of play. Like specifically, just for reference point, that Washington game, it was like you turn back the clock on Mariota, and you're actually watching him play almost as a rookie, like a rookie Mariota, or he's just at a higher level of Mariota. It was almost like they weren't missing a beat when it came from Jaden Daniels down to Marcus Mariota. He played at such a high level in that game that it was impressive, and you have to give kudos to that in terms of his performance in Marcus Mariota. And everybody was playing. Guys in the sense of, like, in terms of their prime years, were playing really well. Zach Ertz, is almost ageless. He keeps playing at a pretty high level. Doesn't matter if Daniels is a quarterback or whatnot. Ertz was really playing really well against the Broncos in that defense. And Deebo Samuel was showing up in some really key moments. And obviously Terry McLaurin. So, like, I really do give Washington a lot of credit, because for the most part, as far as all the games go, that was the one game where you really kind of sat there and said, this team, the opposing team, is giving the Denver Broncos everything that they can handle. And the defense really didn't have much of stops, if any, except for some, plays here and there. And then obviously the big one that really won them the game on the 2-point conversion. But yeah, it's just kind of like the thoughts I had after that game was just like, man, Washington really did give them a lot to handle in that game.
I think Marcus Mariota may have earned himself a
starting gig,
money next year, because he's going to be a free agent. And obviously you'd think that the Commanders probably want him back, but he might be able to go, be a starter somewhere. Maybe not long term. He's not going to be probably a franchise guy, but he could be a bridge starter for a team. And he's looked pretty good in all the games he's played in this year. Like Marcus Mariota. I couldn't handle how that was being pronounced, but it was atrocious. He played so well, and it was weird because, again, the defense, we just couldn't stop anything that they did, which was also weird to see, because it also felt like we had so many good pass breakups. Like, there was that Singleton. Like, first of all, props to Singleton for playing in that game and playing super well. He had that pass breakup over the middle of the field. And obviously the return of Surtain himself. It felt like we were making plays in the secondary, and it also somehow just didn't matter because they kept making more plays. And then Riley Moss, I'm sorry, brother. Like, you make so many good plays, but you're also on the receiving end of almost every possible
impressive catcher.
He couldn't have done anything better. Like, great coverage, better catch. That's literally like the biography of like 5 different Riley Moss plays this year. It's just like there's nothing else he could possibly have done, and the guy somehow comes down with it, and it's crazy. But I just felt like the defense wasn't really able to do what you expected going into that game. But Mariota played a great game.
Well, because argumentative sake would say that was far more of OPI than DPI on that type of play with Burks. Like he's literally grabbing him, right there on the collar, and it's clear as day. But yeah, it's and the other side of it,
they weren't calling OPI at all that game because like there were so many pick plays too that just it wasn't gonna
and the part that I thought was so for as much as the defense was leaky, right? Like as much as the defense was a little bit leaky, and Riley Moss, the thing I thought was so impressive was no penalties from Riley, and he actually played a really solid game overall. It was just that one play. But I think that where I think fans go to, and myself included, fell into this like immediately. You can't really get that, you can't have that moment where you lose your spot at that moment, and Deebo Samuel, ends up a little bit wide on the sideline and almost takes it in, right? So like there was that moment. But even in that moment, 2 seconds later, Riley Moss tackles him by his feet so that he doesn't go in to score. If he scores, you are talking about probably a different outcome in overtime, for the Commanders and actually winning that game versus, the batted down ball, from Nick Bonito. So it's just like on one hand, he gave up the big play, but he also saved you that game with his.
That was a walk-in touchdown to Nick Bonito.
Yes.
So,
no. I meant Moss, like on Deebo. Like he gave up that big play.
But
But then he tackled him on the ankles and didn't have him score.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Also, like, I know that this has been a pretty big topic this entire season. The league has to do something about the officiating because, and not even talking about just Broncos games, every game is atrocious. Did you see in that Texans game where the kicker clearly missed the extra point? Like it's blatantly obvious.
It's getting to the point where they need to review
they called
these.
it good, and the rules. Gene Steratore just comes on immediately. It's like, oh, they can't review it. What are we doing? Like,
it needs to get to a point where they really do need to review these. Like
they have to review them. They have to make refs full time. Make refs full time because having this part time crap, like it just there's no way that they can put in enough time to like understand the rules well enough. And like I'm not saying they don't know the rules, but you can't tell me that them being able to actually like come at this as their full time job and have more time to put into this isn't going to at least somewhat improve the product. They got to do something. It's bad.
Well, and I think that when you look at it from like the technology side of things, you have a freaking sky cam that comes down on the field. Shout out Cronky. But like you can put a camera, a small enough camera on top of the goalposts, each goalpost, because there's.
At this point, like.
There's even
they talk about the trackers, like how well they're able to track the pinpoint exact location of the ball. Just do that.
No, I get you there, but I was just like, if you really want
on the kicks specifically,
like on the kicks specifically, and like put it like on top of the goal, like on top of each, like But like the thing that I'm just so frustrated with, and I notice it even when it comes to pass interference, and this goes back to what happened. Funny enough, with Sean Payton when it came to that Rams game. But, like, you can go back and review any call. You can go back and review anything. Or you can go back and review any spot. Why can't you go through and actually make the actual correct call so that you aren't going through and just reviewing for the sake of reviewing, right? Like, we've been down that road before. And I think that that's the problem with the refereeing for me too, is like, it seems like they're just crossing it off their checklist to just say that, we reviewed the play just to make it sound like, they went ahead and reviewed the play. Because I mean, there's even a few instances where they're just simply reviewing the play and then coming back and being like, yeah, it was a touchdown. Like what good does it serve if you know clear as day, like, that this is a clear penalty, or this is and this even happens in college too. Like, in college or even the pros, where like it's a legit penalty or a legit spot that is spot, catch, whatever, that needs to be reviewed. And, the refs simply don't review it, or they don't actually just, review said spot and, clearly realize that it's inaccurate, then go back and do the virtual measurement. It's just, I don't know. It's so stupid for me.
Well, and there's so many other things that go into it too. And this is, I promise, I'm not just gonna bag on the refs this entire episode, but it feels like there's just a misunderstanding of how football works. And I am by no means an offensive line expert, but it seems to me like the amount of things that they call holding on that are just like, it's just like a snatch trap block that is not holding, and then blatant holding they don't call. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't understand. They have to do something. They have to fix the officiating product because it is atrocious.
Yeah. I will say this, and this is massive kudos to the Broncos in this game. And I think that when you look as a game, right? Like when you look as a game, the Broncos have been right. Like, there's been moments at the middle point or even at the beginning part of the year where we even had the conversation where the offense had been good, like in some spots of games, right? Obviously fourth quarter, but they've really never really put together a full game, right? Where you could even say the point of, well, if the defense isn't going to have, like, for the games where the defense doesn't have it, can the offense go win them a game, right? Can the offense go win them a game? I really think that the defense should really credit the offense for this game. And I mean, there were some moments, obviously, that, the Broncos offense would want back, but I gotta say the defense really has to slap the offense on the butt on this one, because every single moment the Washington Commanders scored, the Broncos will either go down, put points up on the board, and bounce back off of a possession where Washington put points up on the board. So I think that this was a really good barometer, I felt like, for the Broncos and as a team where, okay, the defense doesn't actually have it in this game, but we have an offense that can actually go toe-to-toe with an offense that, was really struggling in the whole year. But if they have it, we can still win this game because of how good our offense was playing.
Yeah, this was definitely one of those rare moments where the offense kind of bailed the defense out, which, I mean, as much as that's true, I do think there were some situations where
Exactly, yeah,
kind of the opposite happened, and like the defense had to come in and attempt to bail out the offense because they went 3 and out. I mean, that's definitely a big problem. I think we have like the 4th most punts in the league, but that's something we got to get cleaned up. But at least this match, it didn't feel like the game was squarely on the shoulders of the defense. Like, for the most part, it was on Bo's shoulders, and he was carrying him pretty well. I mean, he had that ridiculously atrocious interception that I don't even know what he did. It just seemed like he didn't see the underneath defender. And Bobby Wagner is not young, and he barely, like, you go back and watch that interception. I think he moved like 2 steps from the snap of the ball to the point where he gets the reception just right to him. But other than that, yeah, I felt like the offense had a pretty good game, and for the most part was able to bail out the defense for just not being able to get off the field and allowing everything. I mean, we're back to, we can't stop tight ends. Like, that's how it's feeling against Zach Ertz, who's, I mean, he's a good tight end. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Zach Ertz is underrated, but he's also 35 years old. It's just kind of a little ridiculous, and we got to figure something out there. But
yeah. And
in all, I mean, like, we won the game, and the offense, like, we won a game where the defense kind of, Vance Joseph got out coached. Like, the defense just sort of muffed it, and we still won the game, which, like, that's a new thing for this team.
Yeah, and it's one where, like, we didn't really even bring it up during the week, but it's like there was that Cliff Kingsbury Vance Joseph dynamic that we really didn't think of going into this game, and there was some chemistry between Vance and Cliff, right? Like when Cliff was the head coach at when Cliff was the head coach at Arizona, Vance was his defensive coordinator, right? So like he kind of knew a little bit of some tendencies, you know, but like I I'm just hoping that with Cliff and some of those tendencies that he didn't actually give a little bit of a blueprint for how to beat the Denver Broncos. I will say though, I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs were kind of doing the same thing, minus the penalty hunting, if you will. But no, this was legitimately probably one of the few times all year where you can actually say the offense won that game. Like the offense kind of won that game, and they weren't necessarily, they won the game, but they weren't necessarily perfect. That I will say this though, the inability to not run the ball is very concerning. That said, though, this is a caveat. That said, though, it seems like the Broncos are finding themselves in an offense where they feel really comfortable or specifically Bo Nix, I should say. Bo Nix feels really comfortable now where if they need to throw 45 times a game and they need to spread the ball around to all these different playmakers, it seems like he's been pretty effective these last couple weeks where, like, if they need him to win a game with his arm and against the Kansas City Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo, and specifically Dan Quinn, who was calling plays in that Sunday night game, like, he delivered. And, like, so I'm wondering if the lack of running game is going to force them to be like, let's go to this Drew Brees-ish type of offense where ideally it's not a perfect world where you want to be throwing 45 times, but if you can win games that way and do different variations of this to be successful, yeah, you can do it.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit. I don't necessarily agree that is. I think he can. I don't think it's sustainable, and I don't necessarily think it's a winning way to play. But at the same time, I kind of think it's the only place you can go at this point because for whatever reason, they refuse to bring in another back. This team has so little success with running the football. It's ridiculous. Like RJ Harvey looks really good. And then like he still kind of does that thing where he bounces it outside when he doesn't need to. He needs to get skinny. He needs to like run through the gap in the middle. He's just not the best at that. I put out a tweet earlier too about how, and I kind of saw this a little bit in the beginning of the game. RJ Harvey is markedly better at runs from under center. And you saw at the beginning of the game, they kind of started coming out and playing under center a little bit more. Whereas J.K. Dobbins was much better, was the better back from the shotgun, to the point where like RJ Harvey, small sample size, but I think he averages like over a yard per rush more on runs under center. So that's something that would be interesting to see going forward. But getting back to the point of what I was saying, I just don't think this team is built to have Bo throw the ball 45 times. Like he can, but I don't think you want to put that on his shoulders, even though he can handle it. But I also just don't think it's going to have success with the way that this team is structured. And the reason I say that, we still don't have a tight end. Like he does not have. Okay, I will say that for what we saw in this game, Evan Ingram played better. I'm not going to say like Evan Ingram is.
It was his best game as a Bronco.
It was definitely his best game as a Bronco. I don't think he is the answer at tight end. I mean, he's 31. He's going to be 32 before next season. We need to get a reliable, young, dynamic weapon at tight end for Bo that he can use as more of that safety valve. And Adam Trautman looked kind of decent. I mean, even the throws to Adam Prentice, like same thing. But we need a more explosive playmaker there. We need a tight end. And the amount of drops in this game in the beginning of the game were just like baffling and heartbreaking at the same time. We seem to not like I love all our receivers. I love Pat Bryant. He's playing well. He's a rookie. He's had a little bit of the drops, not consistently. Like he's not been Jerry Jeudy out there, but no disrespect to Jerry Jeudy, but when he was here, especially as a rookie, a little bit of a drops problem. And I just think that that's something that has continued to kind of plague this team, where either Bo is not on totally the same page, or they're not on the same page. Like someone is dropping, not dropping the ball literally, but also dropping the ball in terms of like, I don't know if they're in the wrong route, or they're just like, there's something missing there. And I think that's something that we're going to have to fix going into this offseason. I don't think you can fix it in the middle of the season. That's just where I'm going to push back a little bit on I think we need a running game. I don't think just having a vertical heavy, pass heavy offense is going to work and be sustainable, because we don't seem to have the weapons for it. Like if there was more consistency and you had more explosive weapons, specifically tight end, and you had reliable receivers that can like not drop the ball. Not that that's impossible for these guys, but it does seem to be a little bit of an issue. Then we can have a conversation. The other thing that I would point out too, I think that just would go against the Drew Brees style of play, is I do think that that would be a good way to go. The way that Bo seems to not want to stay in the pocket and kind of manipulate the pocket and manipulate his footwork just doesn't lend itself to that style of play yet. Not that he can't get better there, but he just seems more comfortable on the run. And there are times like he definitely has gotten better in the pocket, but he's still not at the level where like you can't really get to the Drew Brees level, like Drew Brees Hall of Fame level, but he needs to show improvement there to aim more into that side of an offense, in my opinion.
So I would argue that the playmakers are. No, you're good. I would just argue though that like they need a tight end, but Evan Ingram I think will be fine and get to that point where we're seeing the explosiveness, and I think that like that's just another angle to this X factor player, because I think there's at times multiple for this team, but like Ingram is undoubtedly an X factor for this team. If they're able to capitalize more on that they had in the Washington game, you're going to see some untapped offensive potential for this team going forward, because it's one more thing that the defense has to, be hold accountable for, because the moment that they start accounting for Evan Ingram is the moment it starts opening up things for other players, guys like Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, and I think that the other side of this too is like they are such a selfless group, an unselfish group, to where they're willing to not, some players are willing to not have catches or targets in games to have opportunities be taken from them, from guys like Evan Ingram or even a Pat Bryant. And so I think that the idea of a Drew Breesian type of offense isn't so much the actual offense that Drew Brees runs. It's just when you have the ability to throw 45 times a game, and whether it be under center, doing things that he's very effective with under center. He is very effective under center, meaning Bo Nix. I think that when you can be able to operate in a way that is in that up-tempo or just the very pass-happy type of situation, it seems like Bo, more often than not, with no J.K. Dobbins, has delivered. He has undoubtedly delivered for this team. And I would ride the hot hand. I think still ideally you would want to run the ball. And that's where I think Harvey, there still would probably want to rely some on Harvey at times. Where I think Harvey is so fascinating is because there's a little bit of grace here, because it's just only his second game as a starter, I should say. Like as a starter, is between the 20s, you do see a little bit less of a patient runner, and he's bouncing it outside a little bit more. But when he's in the red zone, he kind of turns into a vastly different running back. Like he turns into a back where he is far more decisive. He's quick. He realizes where those holes are immediately in the end zone, and that's where you're seeing a lot of those touchdowns and some of those opportunities, even in the passing game, start to open up a little bit more. So, I think if you can do some of that for his confidence, I think he'll be a little bit of a better runner. So I'm not overly worried too about Harvey. It's just a bit of what you're saying about Harvey. It's just a bit of a frustrating thing still when you kind of watch him bounce it outside at times.
Yeah, and I think like as a goal line bruiser back, I think RJ Harvey is good. Like I'm not saying he's not good, but I just think they need someone else to kind of be that. If he's the Thunder, they need like the Lightning, if you will. And I think like running back is definitely a position of need going into this offseason. Like I know that they just drafted RJ Harvey high, but you gotta add someone else to that room. And I love J.K. Dobbins, but I don't know if you can go into next season without some insurance, because when you don't have him, like you pretty much lose that. Jaleel looked good. I just don't think Jaleel is the kind of guy that you can reliably count on in the sense of like you feel good giving him the amount of carries that it would require to kind of be that 1A, 1B kind of role. And I like RJ Harvey. I just think you need someone that can give you, like when you get into the red zone, great, but you need the guy that can give you the 30-yard run when you're at your own 30-yard line, right? Like you need the guy in the rest of the rest of the field basically before you get into the red zone. But I like RJ Harvey. I think RJ Harvey, like I'm not saying RJ Harvey is bad. I think he's a good goal line back, and what you just said kind of backs it up. I just think again with like an Evan Ingram, again, I don't have anything against Evan Ingram. I think he's good. I just think like Evan Ingram is another one of those players that kind of has a little bit of an issue with drops. And like Big Mike said it, yeah, there were a couple drops that he had in that game, he brings those in, easily has 100 yards.
Somewhere on Bo too.
It's somewhere on Bo, but like my point is you can't have that level of unreliableness from your receiving weapons when you also don't really have a running back that is good running between the tackles for chunk plays. Like that's just not something RJ Harvey just like, they're not worried about that. Like that doesn't scare the defense into like, oh, we got to stop this guy because he can rip off a 20-yard run. That's just not the kind of
what I would
player that he's looked like. Not that he can't be that. My point in all of this is just that like we need some more weapons. We need some more reliability. I think we need again another runner. Evan Ingram is fine, but I think some upgrades need to be made.
I will say this where I do agree. Like, but I'm just at least at this point, and for what I'm observing, maybe for the future, I like the role right now for what they're using for Evan Ingram. What I will say this though, where it gets interesting for what the Broncos need is they need that inline tight end who is just on. We said it last year, but he's like on the higher end of for Adam Troutman, right? Like it's the pipe dream for me, and I will be banging the drum until free agency happens next year. But like Cade Otton's the dream for me. If you can have a room of Cade Otton and Evan Ingram, that is a perfect world, and frankly, if you could trade up against Kenyon Sadiq, that would be perfect. It's not going to happen because Sadiq's going top 10, but like that's the ideal duo, if you will. If you can have a tight end duo of a player who's a dominant inline blocker that can also be a reliable pass catcher in the passing game along with Evan Ingram, you can start doing some things a little bit more creativity-wise with your tight ends like Evan Ingram and this other tight end. Frankly, it's one of the reasons why I'm not ruling out, barring anything crazy in Minnesota, of them finding a quarterback again, of, the TJ Hawkinson stuff, or just like, obviously the Jefferson stuff is out there, which got to see it till it happens, but get me a tight end that can be a dynamic inline, player, a tight end who can catch and be a pretty dominant blocker. Because I think that at that point, with Evan Ingram, that they've might start using in the passing game, that's when I really think you'll start to see an offense really flourish. But still, though, I think the fact that we're at a point, I think the Broncos are maybe this is the whole point. Is like I think the Broncos are realizing as an offense they're very effective right now when it comes to passing the ball, and I think that at some point, the Broncos will probably have to rely on the running game at some point, but for being a little bit of a one-dimensional type of offense when it came to just running the ball with J.K. Dobbins, you're now starting to kind of see this where, okay, you're starting to kind of see the passing game open up a little bit more. And some of the players are playing pretty well. Guys like Pat Bryant. Obviously, we finally got a chance to see Evan Ingram's breakout game. And so I just thought overall we might be seeing a little bit more pass happiness until we see more of a consistent basis of a running game.
I still think we need to bring it back.
Oh, I completely agree with it. It's not like I'm trying to push back on that. I'm under the impression it's still we're going to be bringing J.K. Dobbins back, but it's one where you still probably want another back. If you're not going to sign J.K., but just like kick the tires on someone, that you can be able to rely on, on a pretty regular basis.
Well, we need another back this year because you can't go into this team is 10 wins. You can't go into this aspirations of a playoff run, a deep playoff run with the kind of rushing attack that we have right now. That's just not going to work. So I'm interested to see what they do there, but yeah, I mean, other than that, we can kind of move on a bit more from this conversation, but I think to kind of go over,
and I would agree though,
Commanders game. What's that?
No, but I would agree though. They do probably need to add another back. It's just like for me. It's like they are successful throwing the ball, but yeah,
I wouldn't hate it, Josh.
But yeah, it's one where I need them to show me that they're going to be adding in some other players. But also I know that like the last couple weeks for what they've needed, they showed up, or Bo Nix specifically showed up when they needed him to in terms of the passing game and everything. So, well, on the other side of this too is like with that running game, do they really want to utilize his legs? And like this is the last point. Like, do they really want to use his legs? Obviously, he's going to be taking hits, and it's going to be some damage on his body. He can avoid sacks. There's no doubt about that. But like, do they want to do that? Like, at this point, we saw it last year, but like for right now, you're not really seeing it. So maybe they truthfully should bring someone in like a Jamal Williams, like Big Mike mentioned in the chat, like bring in Jamal Williams, and then for the long haul of this run, you at least have someone confident,
Yeah, and I do think this is going to be assisted too by whenever Ben Powers comes back, because he is definitely missed in the running game at guard. And then the other thing I'll kind of point out here, this is like definitely an off-season, more of an off-season discussion. But I do think there can be a discussion with, like, I know we just re-signed Luke Wattenberg, and he's played pretty well, and he's a good pass blocker. But I think if you have the ability to look at options, I mean, you sign him because the free agent center market is not that big, and you never know what's going to happen in the draft. I don't think it was a bad move. But he's just not great in the running game. Like, that's definitely his weakness. So I think you keep an eye out there. But in general, I do think Ben Powers coming back. I think technically, to answer your question, Big Mike, I think he's eligible to return.
He's been eligible a couple weeks or something.
Yeah, but they haven't opened his 21-day window.
Yeah,
so I don't know, but it's possible. I think that's going to be a big boon, I think, for this running game. But I do think they need to bring in another back.
Yeah, I agree.
And you got to have more of a running game, because you can't not run effectively and try to be a playoff team. Like, it makes it so much harder.
Yeah.
But getting into the rest of the game, do we want to do some game balls?
Yeah, let's throw some game. And I'll say, people in the chat, feel free to chime in on your game balls in the chat. Yeah, it's one where, as we said, the offense kind of won in that game, so it feels like there might be a little bit of more game balls on the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side of the ball, but seems fitting that we, at least start with the guy who called game and yelled Kobe, at the very end of the game on that 2-point conversion where the ball hit the cast of his hand. I actually had no idea Benito even had a cast on his hand.
He gets into the locker room immediately after the game and just tweets out instantly, "I hate wearing a cast." Like he just steps foot in the locker room.
Yeah.
And he's still at the stadium in DC. And he sends out that tweet like, I love Nick Benito.
Yeah. But yeah,
easily game ball deserving.
Yeah. And obviously the play was one where it seemed like they were open. I do wonder what was going to happen with the pass, because when it gets deflected like that, what's the actual path of the ball, right? Like, what's the actual path of the ball? Like, was it going to be one where it's going to be slowed down, or was it one where, it's just going to end up being, right on his hands? So, like, because it gets deflected, it's just always goes through my mind. But phenomenal play by Nick Benito, and such a huge moment. And was that offensive pass interference on that play?
Well, like I said before, they don't call any of the pick routes, rub routes that you're seeing from pretty much anyone on all game. So not according to these refs. But yeah, I think Nick Benito absolutely deserves a game ball. Dude was balling out. It's kind of crazy how well the Commanders line seemed to play. And like, I'll give them kudos. I'm not going to give them a game ball, obviously, but like, we could not generate pressure in this game. And like, there was definitely some holding. There were holding calls that were not called. And there were some false starts that were not called, that they kind of got that head start. But I definitely want to see hopefully more pressure going into next week against the Raiders. If we can't pressure Geno Smith, we're in trouble. Just from the sense that like, it's got to be the easiest guy to pressure in the NFL. But it was kind of surprising to see the lack of dominance that you would kind of come to expect from Benito and Cooper. So I love that at the end of the game, Nick Benito's like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm making my stamp. I'm putting my stamp on this game. You're not winning this game, and calls game and just runs off.
Kobe.
But yeah, absolutely. Nick Benito gets a game ball. And I will give a game ball. I'm surprised it took us 43 minutes into the episode to talk about this, to Bo Nix for that ridiculous falling down 11-yard touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton. That was very Mahomes-esque. And I mean, I was watching that game, and my girlfriend is watching the game with me. And she's like working on a puzzle, and that happens. She sees the replay of it, and I was like, that's, she's a Chiefs fan. I was like, that was a Mahomes pass. And she's like, yeah, it was. So ridiculous play by Bo. Can't do it any better than that. And other than, again, the just horrendous interception that he threw to Bobby Wagner. I mean, every quarterback going to have disgusting interceptions. Josh Allen has had several in the past couple games, actually. But other than that, I think he played pretty well.
Yeah. That's here. That's a slap on the rear. Hey, that rhymes. But like, no, yeah, Bo Nix deserves a game ball. He undoubtedly, that throw for the red zone play to Cortland Sutton needs to be on loop for all the naysayers and everybody that just feels like Bo Nix is a noodle arm. He doesn't have the arm strength, or, frankly, he's not really that good of a quarterback. They need to play that on loop, because that was an elite level play. That was a Super Bowl level play that you saw from Bo Nix, and I didn't know what to think of it when Chris Collinsworth is glazing Bo Nix on my TV screen. When he just he spends all nights and hours of praising Patrick Mahomes and and everything. So I had no idea what to make of it. When it came to Chris Collinsworth there, doing what he did there. But yeah, that was such an impressive play, and there were
He had to do something to get on Chris's good side, man. It's the only way he knows how is to cosplay as Patrick Mahomes.
But I will say there were some other really impressive throws in that game. One where it was like that really long 3rd and long, I think it was.
Was it the shot down the left sideline to
down to shot? Yeah, the shot down to Cortland Sutton where it looked like he was thinking about bailing, and then he reset his base, and then he threw the spot where Cortland Sutton was open and where he would only be open, and he made that. That was such an impressive play. Like I mean, obviously the Bobby Wagner play was inexcusable. You don't make that throw there, but that was a really impressive throw. And then
that was a great throw by him.
The first drive of the game, right? Like the first drive of the game where he was on the run. There were quite a bit of some plays there in that game where, frankly, I think you could actually even make that case where the last couple games, and specifically maybe even with that Cowboy game, you're starting to see a little bit more tighter window throws from Bo as of late this year, which you really didn't get a chance to see much of at times. Like there were tight window throws, but on the regular. And I think you're starting to see that more and more this year when it comes to Bo, really trusting that arm.
Yeah, there was another throw. I think it was also on the opening drive where he kind of threw that comeback route to Troy Franklin down the right hash. That was a great ball. And just the more I'm able to see Bo like step up in the pocket, work his progressions, and like set his feet and deliver intermediate ball, like that's all I want to see him do. He seems to be after that mini bye going into the Chiefs game and then going to this game, like he seems to be getting better there. So just keep stacking those games together, Bo. But definitely game ball for him. I just want to see this whole team come together and have a consistent outing across the board like we did. I mean, honestly, it did just happen recently. I would say the Chiefs game was pretty proof of that in terms of like the offense looking good, the defense not falling asleep for some reason, and special teams not forgetting how to play football. But I think if all three phases of this team are aligned, you can beat anyone. You can beat anyone, and that's what you want to go into the playoffs with. Obviously, we have some more games left on the schedule here that are going to be pretty important in terms of standings. And I don't know. I mean, I think we're potentially able to catch the Patriots for the number 1 seed. I don't really know, but yeah, I do think I just want to see Bo continue to stack these games together, and I'm going to feel pretty good. The defense is hopefully going to get it together, and
mix that with a really good defense and
consistent game. But
yeah,
the offensive or the touchdown overtime drive was also a great drive by.
He called that. I think like people are starting to kind of come out and say that like that throw that he made to Evan Ingram, as much as like the play that self from Bo to Evan, credit to Bo on that. But I think he checked into that. Like he realized, where the Commanders were, and he checked into that play there to get it to, I think what did Jenkins call it, a jerk route to Ingram, where he gave him almost like an option route of where he wanted to go left or right, and he juked Bobby Wagner. Like, so I don't know, like,
yeah.
If like I said, if we're gonna be getting that kind of Evan Ingram, man, that's a big thing going forward. J-Man, that would actually be me, although at times when I'm not here, we kind of alternate it with sometimes Brandon or who else, if you will, on the show, maybe Jordan or whatever, but that would be me. That would be me who hosts mainly. Yeah, so honestly, I will probably piggyback off of that and say that that Evan Ingram deserves a game ball. Evan Ingram that was the best game we had seen from him as a Denver Bronco. Obviously not counting the big, massive play that we saw in that preseason game. And you could argue he probably deserved a game ball in that Philadelphia Eagles game, where Bo surprisingly found him. And then he fought for all those yards to tie up the game against the Eagles. But this was the game where we really got a chance to see that's the Joker, right? We all remember the famous tweet that he put out when he signed with the Denver Broncos of, Heath Ledger's Joker and everything, when he signed with Denver. But like, this was the game. This was legitimately the game where you can say, wow, the Evan Ingram really became that Joker that night against the Commanders. So kudos to him. We'll need more of that. If the Broncos see more of that as an offense goes, as I was saying earlier, Brandon, like that is just you're only going to see this offense go and take new heights as a passing offense, because it's just one more thing that the secondary's got to take, into account, because the moment that happens, Courtland Sutton's going to start seeing more catches. Franklin's going to be seeing a little bit more catches. Pat Bryant might actually even seeing a little bit more catches. Maybe even, I don't know, we might actually see some Marvin Mims get some more catches, or frankly, even some Elijah Moore get maybe if he's promoted from the practice squad. But yeah, so I think it just at least opens up, as I'm saying, like everything for the whole Broncos offense.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do we want to talk about we could talk about the Elijah Moore signing a little bit. I don't know what to make of that. Like, on the one hand, he's 25. He seems to be a pretty talented
Weird, he's 25. He's just crazy to me.
But on the other hand, like, there's something up there, because like there's a reason he's been on so many teams. Like, apparently, from what I'd heard, he was kind of toxic on the Jets. And then just the fact that the Bills released him when the Bills like are absolutely desperate in every way possible for any type of reliable pass catcher that's not a tight end. And even then, like, they just need more weapons. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but hey, we'll see what happens.
It's a fascinating one, nonetheless.
He's a pretty decent burner, which, like, maybe they're trying to keep Marvin Mims fresh and allow him to be the all-pro returner that he is, and not use him as much in the pass game outside of like kind of more of the gadget plays, which, I mean, I don't know, the more we go on, like, the more I think that just might be his role. And he's not a bad wide receiver. He's made some chunk plays for this team, but there's been something off with Marvin Mims, and clearly there's got to be a reason he's not getting the snaps we would kind of expect him to get. And Elijah Moore could come in and do a little bit of that. I don't know what we're going to kind of expect to see from him, but an interesting signing for sure. Obviously the practice squad, so he might be elevated. You never know. But it's just interesting to me that he was available. But he's not a bad player. It's just like, what's the deal here? There's got to be, there's something up with Elijah Moore. I don't know what it is. Maybe he needed just another fresh start. But specifically the fact that the Bills cut him, that's just weird to me.
Yeah, and I will say, really up until Buffalo, he really never was in a really good spot. I mean, I will say maybe the Browns was probably a year where you kind of saw a little bit more of him and what he can be able to do in space. And that the reason why, and maybe just to kind of like to officially tie a bow on the whole passing, the aerial attack, if you will, is I wonder if the Elijah Moore signing is some credence into that, because you add him to this lineup, you can actually have a lineup where there's some speed element to this. And if for whatever reason, because I agree with you, I do think it has probably a little bit more something to do with Marvin Mims maybe than they're leading on. Maybe he's not as good of a route runner as maybe some people suspect. I think he's a decent route runner, but clearly the team sees him maybe in a different light or something. But you could have more on the field, right? Like you'd have Elijah Moore on the field, and he can really be your like a safety net, if you will, in the middle part of the field, and seeing soft spots and zones, and use him on some of those jet sweeps, much like you do Marvin Mims at times, so you don't really have to be too pigeonholed on it, if you will. But Moore is definitely a talent, and I think it's one where it's interesting that he's on the practice squad, and obviously it's going to take for them to promote him, but it's a very interesting stash nonetheless. And it's so wild for me that he's 25 years old. And I guess reading Zach Stevens today, like he has connections to Pat Surtain.
They played Little League or something together.
Yeah, they've known each other like ever since Little League. So I don't know, maybe that was at the request of PS2, but the Elijah Moore signing is a fascinating one to say the least. So that's probably why my mind is going, Brandon, to this whole pass happiness, if you will, for the team. Because if you get Elijah Moore in space, right, like we saw that in that Bronco game against Cleveland, he torched Denver. I mean, he torched Levi Wallace. Easy to do. But like that was an unbelievable game for Elijah.
Yeah. The other game ball I wanted to give out as well. There's two on the defense, and you might have the other one, but credit to Riley Moss for coming out and we heard all about his throughout the bye week, practicing with the boxing gloves on, really trying to attack this pass interference bug that he's got. I mean, some of the ones he was called on, they seem to just be making an example out of him, because some of these are really ticky tack, but he seems to be really trying hard to play cleaner and not be called for those. And he played really well in that game. He gave up that touchdown to Treylon Burks, but I don't know how anyone could think that was his fault, because that was just an absolutely ridiculous
catch. Like the Justin Herbert throw this year.
But Riley Moss, dude, played great. And I think that's what you wanted to see from him, because he's just going to continue to be picked on as long as PS2 is part of this secondary. You're going to see it thrown to whoever the other cornerback is on this team, and Riley Moss is stepping up, so good for him.
Yeah. Obviously we gave it to Nick Benito, on the for calling game. But I will say Dre Greenlaw, I will say, finally getting on the board. I will say Dre Greenlaw finally getting on the board and getting an interception. Should it have been thrown? No. But I will say
Mariota got drilled on that throw, man.
But to finally get a chance to see, Greenlaw use his legs a little bit and go out there and run and really kind of showcase exactly why the Broncos, signed him, I thought was a really encouraging sign. There really isn't, I will say this, there really isn't a whole lot on the defensive side of the ball. There really wasn't other than maybe, Pat Bryant, I guess, we should probably do it since Jordan's not here. Give a game ball to Pat Bryant. It feels like more and more each week, Bryant's just getting comfortable and being thrown into a little bit more reliable situations, as the wide receiving core goes. And I will say this, though, Courtland Sutton, he is great at this. Actually, I have another game ball. But Bryant, because Sutton was great at this, but scramble drill. There might not be a better wide receiver on this team right now in scramble drill than Pat Bryant. I mean, he is really good in scramble drill. And then the last game ball that I want to get out to is Courtland Sutton. He finally reached the 6,000 yards mark as a wide receiver in Broncos history. He is 200 away. He is 200 away from passing Eddie Mack, and then he's 400 away from passing the late Lionel Taylor. And if he does that, then I believe he'll be placed into fourth all-time in Broncos history for receiving yards. So kudos to him, for that touchdown, obviously, and then having 6,000 yards. So kudos.
I mean, I don't know what game you were watching, Steven, and yeah, like
that touchdown.
Give up that touchdown. Well, he gave up the touchdown to Treylon Burks, but there was literally nothing else he possibly could have done.
Yep.
And yes, he did give up. He did get burned by Debo at the end, but like everyone on that defense was absolutely
and made the play to stop him.
No one, and he made the play to stop him. He didn't let him get in the end zone. And like everyone was playing bad. So like Riley played great. I'm gonna stand by it. Like he was gassed like the rest of the team in overtime, but there was nothing else he could have done on the Treylon Burks play, and he had some pretty great plays and broke up some pretty key passes in the rest of the game. So I'm sticking with it. Like I don't know what you were watching, but
yeah,
he was good. My other game ball that I'm going to give out, speaking of defenders that played better than you expected and just played well. Again, Alex Singleton, man, coming back from the cancer treatment,
huge breakup.
Had that huge breakup in the middle of the field, and like, I mean, I'll be as critical as anyone else about like I love him, but he is not great. He's not the best in coverage, and dude went out there and proved me wrong and proved that he can play at a higher level there. That was great to see.
By the way, it's not necessarily a game. I guess who would you give the game ball to? On this, I don't know. But remember my bold prediction, Brandon? Remember what my bold prediction was going into the game?
I actually don't. I only remember what mine was because it didn't happen.
I said that the Broncos would have 5 penalties in this game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And what happened? There were hardly any penalties. And to be fair, I will say this: the reason why I felt rather confident in this is because like there's those like NFL refs tweets that come out that talk about like some ref factoids for like really key games or really like important games, and I saw that they were like one of the least called teams or reffing units in the entire NFL.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
And so I was like, and for a team that really needed it, this felt like a game where I could see those penalties really going down. Let's jump into this Raiders game. In the first go around, the Broncos played the Raiders at home. It was a snooze fest. Could have rivaled the Indianapolis Colts and Denver game on Thursday night.
That was gross, man.
But the Broncos came out on top on that one, so it doesn't necessarily, compare, if you will, because the Broncos won. It matters when the Broncos win. If the Broncos didn't win, it might actually rival it. But the Broncos go face the Raiders. There's really only one matchup for me, in this, Brandon, and it's obvious. They didn't have Pat Surtain against the Raiders in that Thursday night game. And to be fair, Jahdae Barron played phenomenal against Bowers, as good as you ever could have asked for against Bowers in that game. That said, though, that is their number one target. And funny enough, that was like the week that Jacoby Myers got traded because that was around the trade deadline. But what I would do is I would 100% put Pat Surtain on Bowers. Channel that 2015 energy of Aqib Talib on Rob Gronkowski, shut him down, neutralize him, have him be an absolute non-factor Watch out for pick plays, if you will, when it comes to Brock Bowers. But that's probably numero uno, Brandon, is have Pat Surtain on Bowers the entire game.
Yeah, I do think that's going to be key. I'm really just wanting to see a different team show up than what showed up against the Raiders a couple weeks ago, because that was disgusting. And like, there's no way that team should have played so poorly against the Raiders. The Raiders are getting absolutely trounced by most teams. Geno Smith does not look good. I'm expecting a better showing. I'm expecting and I want to see Bo continue this little mini streak he's gone on of improved play. The Raiders are pretty middle of the pack in defense in every way. Hopefully we can try to get something going as a rushing attack. Pretty surprised it didn't happen against the Commanders, because they were like the 6th worst in the league, but they seem to somehow get it together. So hopefully do something there, but I definitely want to see them shut down Bowers in whatever way possible. And we got to just figure out a way to win this game. But I just don't want it to be, I don't care if it's close. I just don't want it to be like, are we going to lose to the Raiders, who are arguably the worst team in football right now? Like, you just can't have that. I want to have at least a somewhat decisive victory. And I'm going to be happy.
Yeah. Go Raiders, just lose, baby. And specifically in this game, look, we know that the Broncos made it known after the bye week they are searching for seeding. Well, when it comes to this game specifically for the Raiders and Broncos, if the Broncos, and they probably should, if the Broncos come out on top against the Raiders, they will own the tiebreaker over New England. They will own the tiebreaker over New England because, weirdly enough, the Patriots lost to the Raiders. And so because of that, if the Broncos officially complete their sweep of the Raiders, if it ever came to it and the Broncos had the same record as the Patriots, the Broncos would be the number 1 seed because of that Raiders loss that the Patriots had.
They'd had the tiebreaker.
Yeah. But I think the other angle of this, Brandon, that I am really looking forward to is how the defense adjusts of run defense. If there's anything to be made argumentatively, for this team the last couple of weeks, their run defense has not played the best, right? Has not really played the best. And it's frustrating because they are too good of a unit to be having these down games, right? Like, you got DJ Jones in there, John Franco-Myers in there, Onwuamu Azurike in there, Malcolm Roach has come back healthy. Like, they're just too good of a unit. Zach Allen, they're too good of a unit in that interior to be, letting up some big chunk of yardage, if you will. So, and frankly, if you look at that game that happened on Thursday night, it was a little bit leaky on that run defense.
Chris Rodriguez looked.
Well,
Chris Rodriguez looked good.
I meant like Ashton Genty, like the first couple drives, like it was almost not the entire game, but it was almost like you're looking at Genty when he was with Boise State, like he was fighting off yards, getting some tough yards, but there were some decent lanes for him and everything. So if there is the other angle of this, is they've got to clean up that run defense. If they have a chance to really take a true stranglehold on that game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They definitely let Ashton Genty start to get going, and you can't have that. And it's surprising because the Raiders' offensive line is atrocious. You definitely gotta figure out a way to stop the run game up, make him beat you with his arm, Geno Smith, and take away. They already got rid of Jacoby Myers for you, so take away Brock Bowers, and thankfully we have Pat Surtain back, so that should be hopefully a little bit easier. But yeah, you couldn't agree more.
I will say this as well. The last time the Broncos played the Raiders on Thursday too, Chip Kelly was their offensive coordinator.
Oh, you mean highest paid offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, who's on a beach
I-
somewhere enjoying his money?
Yeah, who probably won't even be hired by college football teams either. So it's definitely been something. I mean, I was intrigued by the hire of Chip Kelly. There's no doubt he's a brilliant mind, but it's one where it's obvious he's not working out in the NFL. It's abundantly clear he's not working on the NFL. It's the second NFL gig that he's had that's not panned out. Because there's that Eagles gig, right? And then the Raiders didn't pan out well for him. So if there's anything I'd say for the Raiders and Bronco game is watch for some tendencies, maybe a little bit of some trick plays here and there. With a new offensive coordinator, maintain your discipline as a defense. Maintain your discipline and don't let really anything go kind of behind you, if you will. And I guess the other part of it too would be, Brandon, is Geno Smith really sucks taking sacks. So please, at the very least, have a 4-sack game against Geno Smith, if not more.
This should hopefully be a bounce back game for this pass rush that, again, somehow got battled up against the Commanders. And I am once again calling for Talanoa Hufanga to get an interception, please.
Yeah. I was thankful to finally get a chance to see some interceptions, but boy, man, that secondary has got to be punching air and kicking themselves in those film rooms, because the amount of times that I'm seeing corners and Hufanga and some safeties.
Barron in overtime against the Commanders.
Right, exactly. And the amount of times that is going to happen, I mean, it is frustrating. It is frustrating, but the defense is still kind of showing out on, and I'm saying this on the season, and they're still showing out, and they're still playing really well. But yeah, it's definitely one where it's man, can you at least come through on one of them? Because Hufanga should have at least 3 interceptions by now. There was probably one last thing I wanted to touch on, and that was playoff seeding as we kind of get closer to the playoff hunt. But what is your score? What is your score for this, Brandon? And do you actually think that the Broncos kind of go through and pull through, if you will, and have a little bit more of a 2-score victory?
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like I was a little too overzealous with calling for the 2-score victory against the Commanders. So I'm gonna level up. I'm gonna pull back a little bit. I'm gonna say it's like a 20-13.
20-13.
We'll take the full touchdown lead, but that's all we got.
Maybe it's me, and maybe it's just the fact that the pass defense of the Raiders isn't really that great, and Bo really should continue doing what he's been doing, if you will, in the passing game. I really think there's a window here for them to score 40.
I mean, I'd love it.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely love it. So I will say 43-20, 43-20. The Raiders get it'll be 43-17, if you will, but a late field goal to get it to 20, a garbage field goal or something, just to make them feel good. So I do think, because the other side of this too is sports psychology, right? Is a big thing for me. And I will say this, I have to think that game, one, it was a home, and 2 is one where it's just I have to think that Thursday game really pissed the Broncos off. Specifically too, they went right into that bye week, and it just feels I mean, obviously they need to get the running game going, and we spent a great deal on that, but it seems like the offense is a little bit better right now than it was on that Thursday night, and frankly, the best it's looked all year, if you will. So that's where I kind of feel it's at a much better place offensively than it was on that Thursday night.
I do think we're going to see a better offense. I think we're going to see a better offense. The other thing that is going to be in their favor is we're not coming off. It's not going to be a short week. We're not coming off of a Sunday night game,
No.
which abolished Thursday night football. But I do think it's going to be better.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be better. All right, so let's talk about this playoff this playoff push as we're ending the show. I do think that the season is gonna end with the Broncos Patriots 1 or 2. I think it's gonna end that way.
It's pretty likely.
Yeah. So, I looked at it when I was on 5280 yesterday, Brandon, and started first by saying, and we are probably massive Houston Texans fans the rest of the way. We are,
dude. Have you? Well, real quick, have you seen the offensive line the Chiefs are going to roll out against the Texans this next week? Yikes! Yikes!
Yeah, it is pretty rough. And then even though they're in SoFi, Justin Herbert, your love child. To be fair, you do love Justin Herbert, but he's banged up, and I know it's not on his.
I do love him, but he has not looked as great.
But and it's not his throwing hand, but he's still injured. But the Eagles are coming into town with an unbelievable defensive line. So the Eagles should do everything in their power to just get to Justin Herbert, right? And so the Eagles probably should win that game, right? Like the Eagles probably should win that game. And then you got the Texans and the Chiefs, right? And so I was looking at this, like the Texans, they basically play, they play the entire AFC West, not us, but they play the entire AFC West to round out their season to a degree. So you have the Cardinals this Sunday. This Sunday night they have the Texans. Then they play the Cardinals in Houston. Then they play the Raiders in Houston. Then they play the Chargers in SoFi the week before the Chargers play us, right? And then the Chiefs have the Texans in Kansas City. It's about the only part that's thankful is that they have it in Arrowhead. Then the Chargers are coming to Arrowhead. Then the Titans. Then the Broncos at Arrowhead, and then they finish with the if you will, with the Raiders. The Chargers, on the other hand, little bit of a brutal stretch, man, if you ask me. You have the Eagles, right, as we said on Monday. Then they go to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. Then they go to Dallas, which we know Dallas is a really, really tough place to play. And it's obvious they're a better team to play in Arlington, right? So they go to Dallas. Then they play the Texans, and then they end the season at home. With the with the Broncos. And then obviously the one that matters in terms of seeding and it's the next couple weeks for the New England Patriots, and they play the Buffalo Bills this upcoming weekend, and then right after that they fly to Baltimore and they play the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, so if you were to put your tinfoil hat on and kind of forecast the future, who do you trust more? The New England Patriots. The Patriots are on their bye week. That's my fault. But they play the Bills upcoming. They play the
Bills coming out of the bye week.
They play the Bills coming out of the bye week. Thank you for that comment, by the way. Who do you feel the most confident in?
Between the Bills or between the Patriots? Are we talking about the game
Yep.
against the Bills?
The Patriots and the Broncos. Who do you have the most confidence in right now? As far as
In general for the rest of the season.
for the number one seed.
I kind of feel like it's the Patriots, to be honest with you. Like I'm in the most unbiased way possible, because Drake May is something special. Drake May is more consistent than Bo Nix right now. It's just the truth. He looks ridiculously good, and I kind of hate it because I wanted the Patriots fans to
better than
wallow
Bo. Like there's no
in quarterback purgatory for longer. But yeah, rest of season in general, I think it could go either way. Like I'm not saying 100% certainty that the Patriots are the number one seed. I just think I have more faith in them right now. Even though they refuse to give Travion Henderson the ball, even though he looks better than Ramondre Stevenson.
I will say this. The Broncos are more battle tested than the Patriots.
The Patriots' schedule has been kind of ridiculously soft.
Yeah.
That is the one thing against them. And like, yes, I know they can only play who's on the schedule. Like you can
their only marquee win is going to end up being a rematch with Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, you can only do so much, but the teams that they have played, Raiders, they lost. Dolphins, who I don't even know what to think about the Dolphins. Steelers, they lost. And then the teams that they've won from there on out, the Panthers, who do look pretty good, but that seemed to be kind of before the Panthers turned the corner. The Bills by a field goal. The Saints, who are inept. The Titans, who might end up with the number one pick again. The Browns, who are inept. The Falcons, I don't know what to think about them. The Buccaneers, okay, pretty good. The Jets, the Bengals with no Joe Burrow, and the Giants, who
they play.
I think the Giants are kind of feisty, but they got problems. And Jackson Dart doesn't seem to know how to not get obliterated.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything. I would say that the Broncos are more battle tested. And I think the Patriots defense is good. I think it's pretty good. But I also would say I probably trust the Broncos defense a little bit more than the New England Patriots defense, where it's a bit of a wash, obviously, of special teams because, you have Marvin Mims and you have Marcus Jones, for the Patriots. But no, I have this feeling it's going to be 1-2. And the game that I will say that I'm kind of circling, and that's just because of the New England Patriots history, and granted it was with Tom Brady. I don't know what it is, but the Miami Dolphins have played spoiler for the Patriots. Like, I don't know, for like the longest time. And obviously it's been mostly with Brady, but right around this point in time when we have been talking about seeding, like I'm expecting the Patriots to win that game. But like right at this point in time when we've been talking about like seeding and everything else, like the Miami Dolphins are tricky, man, because it's also the last game of the season. There's nothing to play for at that point, if you're the Miami Dolphins. And who knows, maybe at that point the seeding is still needing to be figured out. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one for me. So that's like on the level of like the Buffalo-Baltimore game. It's nowhere near that level, but it's certainly one where, it's not near that level. So yeah, I am 100% definitely fascinated to see how it all shakes out, though. I think if you probably ask me, and I think it's just because, and this is not my biased opinion, but it really is just about the fact I look at the whole thing as a whole and how battle tested the teams have been. I probably would pick the Broncos, even though the Patriots undoubtedly do have the better quarterback this year. Even though I do think the Bo Nix has really stepped it up in the last handful of weeks and obviously really stepped up in really clutch moments, and there's no quarterback I trust more in the fourth quarter this year in the NFL than Bo Nix. Like May's the better quarterback, right? But I will just probably end it with this though, Brandon. Like, if the Broncos end up with the number 1 seed, I wouldn't say like the confidence is skyrocketingly high. But I will say I have some confidence that the Broncos have a really decent shot at going to the Super Bowl if they're the number 1 seed.
I think it's possible. I want to see more consistency from Bo, and I just want to see them do something to get a running game. But it could happen.
Yeah, it definitely can happen. I want to thank everybody for hopping in to the chat. It was an incredible conversation in chat. Starting next week, well, not starting, but next week, we'll be doing our show on Thursday. And the trio will be back. Me, Brandon, and Jordan will be back on that Thursday. We may do it a little earlier. We haven't really pinned down the time. Want to say whether or not it would be 7:30. But want to thank everybody that chimed in the chat. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button for the MHRT Network. And want to remind everybody that on the MHRT Network YouTube channel, as I said, first hit the subscribe button. There is a join icon. That is on that YouTube channel. There are 3 different options that you guys can be able to select on that. There is the fan option, the super fan option, and the diehard option. The fan is $2.99 a month. The super fan is $6.99 a month, and the diehard is $12.99 a month. And in that fan subscription, you have priority reply to comments, members only live chats, and the super fan, you have connecting on social media, member shout outs, and in the diehard, you have members only live streams. So like if we were to do a live stream that is just solely for members, if you were a member, you would be able to check out that live stream and then obviously join the show. I don't know what join the show means necessarily, but no, it is a fantastic opportunity for you. If you guys are really fans and love the Denver Broncos and love the MHRT Network, please be sure to check that out. And then also we do a YouTube channel of the Mainly Broncos podcast that you guys can go ahead and check out. So we also do short form. We do short form over there on Instagram. We do short form over there on TikTok. We have a phenomenal team. The trio of me, Brandon, and Jordan, and of course, every once in a while, Maddie. It is a great team that we have over here with the Mainly Broncos podcast. Follow Brandon at Brandon Miller PO. Follow myself at Cameron Parker PO, and hopefully the Denver Broncos can come away with a victory. And without further ado,
let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Slurpee? Radical. Slurpee? We're out of here.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high, I might never